Where you can see pole position went to JD Beach, and rows 1 and 2 stacked with talent.
Hayden Gillum, Nick McFadden, awesome job in third. Corey West, Mazziato jumped up to fifth late in the session. Right next to him, Richie Escalante. Then row 3, Braden Norton, who had a tip over in qualifying. Bryce Prince, Jason Aguilar, last year's Superstock champion in the 600 class. Then Michael Gilbert, Miles Thornton, good to see him back. JC Camacho has switched brands from a Suzuki to a Yamaha R6 now. He finds himself on row 4, row 5, Ashton Yates, who just did a great job in our 300 race. Daytona Anderson is next, Max Engels. Row 6, Xavier Zayat, Nolan Lampkin, and Benjamin Smith, our RC 390 Cup champion from last year.
And we talk about this all the way back through rows 7, 8, 9, and 10 as we have a full field of racers. Everyone trying to score as maximum points. In this series, we pay from first, which scores 25 points, all the way down to 15th. So even if you finish the race and you get there in 16th spot, that's 0 points for you. So many names that you might recognize from other classes here in MotoAmerica that are qualifying for this race. But on back to 30 qualifiers. It's going to be a packed field. And the man who a lot of people think is just going to be the favorite for the year, JD Beach, he's got a new crew chief for this year as well. A guy that you know all too well, Jason, who is back from, John Ethel has been around the paddock for many years. He's been out of the paddock for many years, running his own business in Camarillo, California. And JD called him up and said, will you come back? And he was at a point in his life with his family that he said he could, so he's back in. And so JD's familiar with his crew chief, but quite the structure difference is JD now is the only rider who is on the Monster Energy Yamaha Extended Services Yamalube Graves Yamaha team.
Yeah, and he's had a teammate to beat for the last couple of years, and now he doesn't. He's solo. So I think it can play into your psyche one of two ways. I think that he's expected to win every race. That's literally, it's going to be his expectations, probably the paddock's also. But there's some hungry guys. This morning, I watched one of the Suzukis, I believe it was Nick McFadden, get in behind JD coming down that back straightaway, and the Suzuki was not giving up much, if at all anything. So it'll be interesting when DeBees gets back as well. But Nick McFadden has definitely stepped up. You'll see him there on the front row. He has definitely stepped up. I know these guys trained. The whole front row, I think, do some training together. They're all dirt trackers. And moving forward, I think Nick's just going to keep getting better.
So Nick McFadden, he runs the number 18, and he's on the M4 Med-Age Suzuki team out of Owensboro, Kentucky. So you want to keep an eye on him. Of course, we mentioned Corey West, who was talking with Hannah, filling in for Valentin DeBees, who was definitely one of the early season favorites, and he was racing the Daytona 200 a few weeks back and had a tremendous high side that was all over social media, and he's still home in France recovering from those injuries. The one thing is we go straight to COTA, Jason, for the MotoGP, but it's only the Motul Superbike class that goes. So in terms of recovering for Valentin DeBees, who's not here, he gets basically an extra couple of weeks before the second race of the Supersport, second race weekend, I should say, of the Supersport Championship at VIR.
I've seen big crashes in my life, obviously. I've seen two really big ones in the kink, and the one that Valentin had there at Daytona during the 200 was so big, I think everybody kind of was holding their breath until they found out that he was okay. I know I was on my phone immediately, texting Chris Ulrich just to kind of get me an update. I was sitting home watching the race, and the fact that he was okay was a big relief to all of us. And then, of course, as they get deeper into it and they find, they start looking through x-rays and things, they found a couple vertebrae there that he needed to sit out this weekend for. And but hey, they've done a good job. They've filled him in with Corey West, who I think has done remarkable. Corey's been in the top 3 this weekend. It was only this morning that Nick went a little bit faster and was able to get ahead of Corey. But Corey even improved his time this morning from yesterday as well.
So sighting lap is being complete. So actually warm-up lap, sorry. Sighting lap was done, and then we had that 10 minutes where we get to talk to riders. And now it's the warm-up lap, and they will take their grid positions in MotoAmerica competition. It's 3 across per row. And when all riders are in positions, the MotoAmerica officials will signal we're ready to go, and then we'll have some red lights go on, and when they go off, it's the mad dash to turn number 1 here at Road Atlanta. 2.5 miles.
The first 30 seconds of this race, Greg, are really interesting because once they get the green light, getting up the hill into turn 2, 3, 4, it's so important that you get through there cleanly. I know that's what I'm going to be looking for, to make sure our front runners and everybody else gets through that 2, 3, 4 section very clean.
Revs are up. Everyone's over the wall, so now it's time to get racing, and we're off and running. And J.D. Beach, a good start, but it looks like Hayden Gillum got swallowed up there for a moment.
And Mazziato with a great jump from the second row. He jumped up into the mix. And J.D. Beach, though, is going to lead him up the hill for the first time with Mazziato jumping up there, like I said, into second place. And I'm trying to get an eye. I think that's Escalante in third, Braden Orton fourth. So a couple of our front runners that were on the front row have their worst nightmares happen. JD's got the start, and they're back there in fifth and sixth.
A lot of work to do for Nick McFadden and Hayden Gillum from the front row.
And I saw Hayden, it looked like I think it was Hayden, ran real wide coming down the hill the first lap there. You can see him back there in sixth place. Looks like Corey West has found himself in fifth.
For the first time through turn 6 and 7. Turn 7, the slowest corner right there as we go through it. YCRS sponsored from Mazziato Racing. Anthony Mazziato III out of New Jersey in second spot early on in this Supersport race, trying to track down the early championship season favorite J.D. Beach.
And I'll tell you right now, these two guys behind Escalante did not have a ride up until a month ago, and he was able to jump on that Hudson Valley Yamaha, and now he's finding himself in second place. Mazziato slips back to third. Mazziato put a very good lap in qualifying very late this afternoon or late morning to move himself up to fifth in qualifying. But you can see Hayden Gillum, the guy who started second on the grid, the bright yellow leathers there, and McFadden just behind him did not get the starts they wanted.
Oh, Escalante had second place for a moment. Mazziato makes a move.
He just went in there so tight though, Greg. He just had to slow the bike down a little bit too much, and Escalante was able to nip back up the inside of him as they come up into this 2-3-4 section here. Look a little further back, there's Michael Gilbert. Look like he's got Bryce Prince directly behind him.
So the race starting to stretch itself out a little bit. Of course, if Escalante and Mazziato start to race each other up, then that becomes a situation where they can slow each other down. So on the Quicksilver, Lexan Moto Hudson Motorcycles is number 54, Richie Escalante from Mexico.
And as a rider, you know, if you're in J.D. Beach's shoes, he's going to just be head down the whole time right now, and he's going to be very closely paying attention to it. We have a rider that's gone down in turn 7. Can't see him, but it looks like two riders. That looks like Braden Ort and Hayden Gillum. So Braden Ort and Hayden Gillum have crashed in turn 7. And we saw Braden Ort tip over this morning right here in this section that JD's in now, turn 10. But Escalante and Mazziato are running comfortable second and third, and you can see Hayden Gillum's back up. So I'm not sure what happened there, Greg, but it wouldn't surprise me to see a couple of these guys have maybe got together there.
Yeah, I mean, Hayden Gillum obviously not happy at all. Let's take a look at the replay.
Can see at the top. Oh, wow. Braden Ort just lost the rear. That's innocent enough. Hayden's just in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's all that is.
Yeah.
Braden just gets on the gas coming out of turn 7, and definitely nothing intentional there. Feel bad for him right now.
So Braden Ort a little stunned after that swapping of rear end, high side kind of thing, and Hayden Gillum getting caught in that crash. And I mean, it's a long season, but it's really difficult to lose points this early on in the year.
This is what happens, though, Greg, when you get a bad start. You know,
Yeah.
Hayden Gillum wants to go with this guy. He doesn't want to be back there 6th and 7th spot. Escalante gets kicked up out of the seat, and he's trying his best to go with JD. But this is the kind of thing that can happen, and Hayden is going to look back on this, and yeah, he was in a bad spot. But if he gets a better start, he's going to be up there with this guy, and that there's a chance that and Escalante loses the front as he goes into turn 7. So lot of attrition right off the bat right now. 3 of our top 6 guys have all fallen out of the race. And you can see that bike, the right handlebar snapped off, Greg. He's not going to get going again.
What a bummer for Escalante.
He just loses the front, trail breaking off in there. And we were down there watching yesterday. I was with Josh Hayes actually watching down there yesterday, funny enough. And we were just talking about how patient JD looks at the apex of 7. He looks so patient, and when he picks up the throttle, he gets such a good drive out. A lot of the other guys trail braking very deep all the way to the apex of the corner, not allowing that bike to roll through the corner a little bit more, where this guy was very, very patient. So we've seen a couple accidents happen in the slowest corner on the track, but you can see what it's done in the group behind. It started to pack some people up. You've got Corey West now battling for that podium that we said he could be battling for. He's caught Mazziato, and Nick McFadden has gone with him.
So Anthony Mazziato holding steady, 131.3 last time around. So Mazziato, a 131 flat, but Corey West, a 30.5. So about 0.8 of a second quicker last lap on Mazziato. And Nick McFadden, Corey West's teammate, a 130.5 as well. So haven't caught on to the tailpipe yet, but they are on a move. If this continues at this torrid pace, 0.8 of a second quicker than Mazziato, in the matter of a couple of laps or less, Mazziato's going to find himself shuffled back to 4th.
Well, you know, he's definitely going to put up a fight. You got your top 4 guys right now running in the minute 30 range. JD is going to come around, and so far this couldn't have been any more perfect for him. He's going to see a +2 or a +3 on his board. It looks like we've got a red flag, Greg. Yep, going down the back straightaway. Yep. I can see JD put his arm up. I saw actually somebody in 2nd and 3rd put their arm up, and right outside our window now, yeah, we can see a red flag. So not exactly sure what that's for.
Red flag situation here at Road Atlanta in the Supersport race number 1, Suzuki Championship at Road Atlanta. That means race stops. And at this point,
I saw Hayden go by too the last lap. I saw him actually go down the front straightaway, so this is great for him. He's going to be able to get back in, get over to his crew, and I'm not sure if Braden Ork got up and kept going. I did see him get up, and we know that Escalante went out, but he went out on the lap that the flag, I don't think everybody completed that last lap, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see how they score that as far as if Escalante can get his bike back.
Yeah, looking at our timing and scoring, trying to deduce what happened. It's really difficult to see, but possibly Michael Gilbert.
There's Escalante walking back across right now. He's in turn 7.
Obviously, JD Beach, his fastest lap of the race, a 130.2. He did a 29.1 in qualifying. Not sure on his tire choice, but they're a soft option. As you can see now, ambulance on the back straightaway.
That's not a good spot. That's going to be coming up out of turn 5, Greg, and that's usually a high side. That's going to be getting out on that curbing, and yeah, we're waiting to see
out of turn 5 up
out
over
of turn
the hill.
5 up over the hill. And right now, you know, we can look at our timing board. We can look at our TV screen, and it looks like it is. It looks like it could be Michael, only because he hasn't gone through the first sector.
Yep.
And it's a horrible place to crash, because what the bike does there is it usually will get sideways as it comes up over the top of the hill, and then it will load up. In other words, when the bike is sideways, the suspension, everything will load up, and it'll pitch you up over the top. And just judging by where he's on the inside of the track there, and they're working on him, yeah, and he's been suffering this week also with a pretty big cold. So, anyways.
All right, so under red flag conditions, we know JD Beach, Anthony Mazziato. So, Jason, you talked about this for, say, Hayden Gillum, who Hayden Gillum is now possibly got another chance to, you know, get this bike fixed, but he's also got to deal with the fact that he got a horrible start, and he's got to, you know, how do you figure out without practicing a start? It is Michael Gilbert.
Yep.
So we can see Gilbert, number 55, one of the contenders in our Superstock 600 championship last year, out of Tustin, California, on that Riders Law Racing Yamaha. Is the rider down on this one as they attend to him?
Yeah, but you were talking about Hayden. I think, you know, right now this is a huge break for Hayden in the sense that for the championship. Like, it's too early to start talking about the championship, but you don't want to just give up a bunch of points right off the bat. And I think, Greg, but what he's got to do is, depending on how well they can get that bike put back together and what they can actually do to fix it, he's got to just do the best he can with what he's got and try to get up to the front as best as he can.
All right, let's head down to Hannah, who has Hayden Gillum.
Hayden, tell us a little bit about what happened and what this restart means for you.
I mean, we were just got a bad start. I haven't got to figure out the starts really on this bike, so I've burned up a couple clutches trying to do it, and so I just kind of had to roll off the line. Unfortunately, that made me have to go back a little bit, so I was stuck in the pack. I had made a couple passes, was trying to get up there, and Braden just made a mistake coming out of 7 and high side, and I didn't have anywhere to go. So luckily the bike was fairly okay. The bars were bent a little bit, but I mean, other than that, thing feels good. So I was able to pick it back up and go. Restart's going to help a little bit, but I got a lot of traffic to fight through. So yeah, we'll see.
Well, we're glad you're okay. We'll see you back out there. Thanks, Hayden.
But it does, Greg, when you've done a bunch of practice starts and you started realizing, well, I'm burning up through clutches, you got to remember, he's been on the bike a few times, obviously. They've done some work out on the West Coast, and they went to the test at Barber. But when you start seeing clutch wear or clutches that get burned up on starts, it definitely makes you a little bit more careful getting it off the line. So he was just being careful getting it off the line, but you heard him say, I fell back a little further than I thought. And look, Braden Nort's very seasoned, very great rider. It could have happened to anybody, but when you get that far back, sometimes things can start to happen, and he was just caught out.
With the race distance we have it's on MotoAmerica to see what they're going to do. It looks like because they had at least 2 laps completed by everyone in the field that they might just do a restart from the running order for after the second lap. So that's what Hayden Gillam's talking about. When he gets regridded, he might be in the back of the pack instead of a full grid as we saw it originally. Let's go back down to Hannah, who has more down there. Hannah?
I'm down here with Braden Nort. First season for you in Supersport. Tell us a little bit about your crash and what took place.
I got a really good start. I was pretty happy with my start. Came from 7th to I think 4th or something like that, and right hanging on to those guys. And of course, new class, new season, first race, and I guess I was just really excited. Really, I met my goal of getting up there, and I saw I was off a little bit on my apex. Saw they were getting to the gas, and thought, oh no, it's a long straightaway. I better get on it. And turns out that wasn't the right call. A little bit too much lean angle, a little bit too much gas, and came out from underneath me and tried to save it, but can't win them all. So I crashed, and then I'm not sure what happened with this red flag, but it looks like we're going to get a second opportunity to go out and redeem ourselves. It's been a bit of a rough day, crashing qualifying and crashing the race, but it's all a learning curve, and I think if we can get going for this race, that I've learned and won't make that mistake again.
How was the bike feeling when you rode it back in? Do you think they'll be able to get it fixed and race ready in time to go out?
Bike felt okay. I think we're going to be good enough to go out for the race if we have enough time to get it going, but I'm not sure if you guys saw on the cameras or not, but I was flying down the back straight to try and get in, and I went into that 10-8, the turn where I crashed earlier today, and went to grab a handful of brakes and just had nothing. So I ran straight through the gravel pit and almost crashed a few times there too. But I mean, if we can get that fixed, and I'll get myself sorted, good mindset, I think we'll really be good to go for this race.
All right, we're glad you're okay. Thank you so much, Braden.
He's a good kid. I like, and
that happens, Jay.
It does. The thing is that the first thing you got to check, especially when you crash on the right, is you got a brake lever there because you don't want to go ripping off down into the back straightaway here and have no brakes. And you can see there's the bike of both Richie Escalante and Michael Gilbert. And our thoughts are obviously with Michael right now.
Absolutely. And
hoping that he's going to be okay. But yeah, Braden's had a bit of an interesting day so far. Like I said, he did tip over this morning, and it was kind of an easy tip over. And Greg, we saw the crash, and you remember we thought maybe he had gravel in his glove or anything. He actually ground one of his fingers away. That's what he did on his initial impact with the ground. It ground one of the knuckles away on his hand, on his left hand. So he's been leaving his mark this morning in Atlanta. I think what he wants to do now is just try to get on the back of the grid there and just try to get some points, just get through the race.
I like that he at least said something about having a good mindset if they get the motorcycle going back because, he's definitely making a mark at Atlanta as we look at JD Beach, who's just chilling. And we got word from race control that when we get this race back underway, it will be 12 laps to go in this one. The scheduled distance was for 18 laps in this Supersport race number 1 as we continue to bring you coverage from Road Atlanta. If you're just joining us on BN Sports, this is the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship. We're at our first event of the season where we're getting Supersport, Motul Superbike class, Liqui Moly Junior Cup, Twins, Stock 1000 classes going. And our first major heavy hitter race of the day is race number 1 for Supersport, and we're under red flag conditions. You can see from the crawl at the bottom of the screen, 12 laps remain in this race. Once we get bikes back out on track, we get things regridded, and the lights go off, and the mad dash for Supersport race number 1. We're going to take a commercial break on BN Sports right now, but on the other side, we'll get some things going, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back. Welcome back to Road Atlanta for the MotoAmerica first race of the season. And Supersport action has started, but we're under red flag conditions. Michael Gilbert has gone down, and they were attending to Michael. So still a little bit of time on the clock before we get this one re-gridded to go with 12 laps to go. And there's a good look at Ashton Yates.
The whole Yates family.
Yeah.
I see Heather.
Yeah.
Heather's there.
Next to Aaron.
Yeah.
Aaron on his phone, probably trying to figure out how to dial it.
Yep.
Who knows what he's doing there.
Yeah.
All right, well, obviously we're under red flag conditions, and the person who was leading the way is JD Beach, and he's with our Hannah.
JD, leading the race like this and having to stop for a red flag, how does that interrupt your concentration? Does that affect you at all, or do you just get out there and get back to business?
No, I mean, it's the same thing as the first race, or the first start, and we'll go line back up again and do it all over again, and hope to get the whole shot and try and break away like we were and see what happens.
Does a break like this help you re-energize a little bit, or are you more tired when you go back out? Talk to us a little bit about physically how you're feeling.
Physically, now I'm a little hungry. I'm feeling a little hungry, but no, I'm feeling good. I got some water, and we'll go racing.
All right, thank you so much, JD. Best of luck to you.
JD's been around this sport a long time, Jason. He's seen a lot of these red flags, and he knows what it takes to refocus, but it does definitely break your rhythm.
Yeah, absolutely. It does, especially with the start he had. And when you see that board going +1, +2, +3, plus, whatever, and you sit there and you think, okay, this is great. When you see the red flag, it can be a bit disheartening, but he's done it so many times. He's just going to be a racer and go back out and do exactly what he did the first time. Try to nail that start and get away from everybody,
So there's the ambulance coming back in. Ambulances coming back in as the officials, FIM and MotoAmerica officials, will take a look at the racing surface and make sure that everything's okay. We did have a couple of other incidents that didn't cause the race stoppage, but they'll definitely stop in those corners just to make sure, double check. No oils on the track, no fluids on the track, no bits and pieces of motorcycle as well.
That's right. Yeah, no, I'm sure that the MotoAmerica staff and all the great corner workers, all these corner workers, they work so hard, volunteering their time to get out here and protect everybody, and they're going to go through the whole track and make sure that there's nothing on the surface. So you get a good look at Daytona Anderson, back for his second year with the M4 team, and he qualified back on the 5th row today and was making his way forward, obviously with some of the attrition. It's going to help him probably get up there a little bit further today.
We talked about a couple of these incidents. Yeah, Jason, talk us through this one.
Yeah, just like Braden said, he just got on the gas a little bit early there, and when you see those guys trying to get away, you want to try to get on the gas as early as you can. And in the exact same corner, the exact opposite thing happened. Richie just got into the slowest corner a little bit too fast and was just dragging on that front brake a little bit too long. And as he got close to the apex, it just ended up locking up and throwing him on the ground. So it'll be interesting to see. I know they probably would have got his bike back as well, Greg. And I'm looking down there to see if they were able to get his bike back together. I kind of have an idea because where we're sitting, we can actually look down and see the whole pit lane. And I'm looking down, I see a bunch of people working on something down there, but I'm not sure if it is actually, in fact, Richie's bike. So, and
Richie always has if the bike isn't ready right at this moment, he'll have the opportunity to start from pit lane, but he would have to wait till all the motorcycles are up past turn 2 before they'd release him. So that's a huge deficit if they cannot get this thing out. Pit lane opens as the green flag flies, and pit lane will be open for 60 seconds. So from now until pit lane closes is all the time the teams have to get a motorcycle out on the racetrack if they want to take the grid.
And I'll tell you one thing I'm expecting now that he's got a start underneath his belt. Watch for Corey West down to turn 1. I feel like he's probably going to get a great start from that second row. He's already got one under his belt. He was coming for that battle for third there, if you remember before. We had that red flag with Mazziato, and he was bringing along Nick McFadden, who also has a start under his belt as well now. Both those Suzuki riders hopefully will get a little bit better jump on the green light this time and try to keep JD in sight a little bit better than they did the first time. But Corey right now, all this is so new in the sense he's ridden Suzukis in the past, he's ridden for this team in the past, but he talked to me yesterday about just knocking off some of the rust. He's like, Jay, I just feel like I'm a little erratic on the bike. I feel like I'm doing too much. I'm overriding. I'm trying some things and I'm starting to realize it now. And this morning, he smoothed himself out a little bit. It looked like to go even faster than he did. So yesterday. So we'll see if those two guys can get better starts.
Riders on track right now as they will take their grid positions, and we will get this 12-lap Supersport race underway. Now the question is, since we don't have the actual starting grid, if we're looking at our timing and scoring screen, if we match it up with the original grid, which is J.D. Beach, Hayden Gillum, Nick McFadden, Corey West, Anthony Mazziato, and Richie Escalante, and we have Braden Norton, Bryce Prince, Jason Aguilar. Those are your top 3 rows. The way it's looking on our timing and scoring screen, they might re-grid in the original order.
If they do that, that is the biggest break Hayden Gillum's ever had, I can promise you, for a red flag. Because normally, I said it'll be interesting to see what lap they go back on to see who completed what lap. And the thing is that if one of the riders that had crashed hadn't completed the lap, there might be a thing there that allows them to go back a full lap before. So I'm just looking to see where they're going to grid these up. I heard that they were going to go back to original grid spots, Greg, so that does look like it could be the case.
J.D. Beach pulls up to his spot. It looks like Nick McFadden is there there he is. So the 18.
Going all the way to the front, Greg. He's going all the way back up to the front row.
Wow.
So that's a big, huge break for him.
Original grid restart, but from 18 laps, it's now 12 laps. It's on Hayden Gillum to not fry that clutch. It's in his head, but he's got to get a better start to avoid any of those incidents that happen a little bit further back in the pack. So Hayden Gillum on the 69, looking for a better launch. It's one thing to do a fast lap time, but when you're winning races, you've got to be a complete racer. That includes getting the motorcycle down into turn 1 in a front end position.
So we'll see if Hayden's going to be a little bit more aggressive with off the line here. We'll see if he gets a little bit more aggressive with the clutch and how that pans out for him. So nothing worse than worrying about that for sure.
All right.
Now these guys are going to get to go out for their warm-up lap.
Yep, so they get to take their grid position. That way they're familiar with where they need to be. And now it's a full-blown warm-up lap at speed. They'll take that grid position again, and then the lights will go out and we'll get racing. So, a nice warm day. J.D. Beach talked about him being a little bit hungry coming in, and J.D.'s always hungry. That's what you get when you're nonstop, young, fit, bombing around racetracks all the time, pedaling your bicycle like a maniac. J.D. Beach, always fit, as all these riders on the sharp end are. Now, of course, we know for certain at this point that the rider who is supposed to take grid position number 10, which is the beginning of row number 4, is Michael Gilbert, the number 55 machine on the Riders Law Racing Yamaha R6. He is out of this competition. We're not sure medically what's going on with him, but we know he is in an ambulance taking a ride, so we wish the best for Michael Gilbert and hope that he is okay. And we'll see him back on a motorcycle sometime soon. There's a couple questions, though, on which riders were able to get those motorcycles fixed and back out onto the race course. 61 is Anthony Mazziato, so he'll have to take his position in row number 2 after a great start from Mazziato, and he turned some heads, definitely.
I saw Braden go through this little shot that we have here of guys coming through 10 and 10A, so Braden definitely got going back out there. So that's good for him. I did not see Richie go through, though. So we'll have to look a little bit closer to see if that is the case. If Escalante, it looks like I'm just looking out our window, Greg, to see if I can see. I think I see a bike getting pushed down pit lane like right now that looks like Escalante's bike. So it doesn't look like he's going to make the start, unfortunately.
Yeah, too bad for Richie Escalante and his team. But can J.D. Beach do it all over again, or will somebody get a start to put J.D. behind him? Is what J.D. was doing last year with his teammate Garrett Gerloff. J.D. would get monster starts. Talking to Garrett Gerloff about last year, he said he thinks he can only remember 2 times when he got in front of J.D. Beach off the start. It's just something that J.D. has got dialed in. The signal's out. It looks like everybody's ready to go racing. The lights are going on. And here we go, the restart.
Corey West got that start that I thought he might get, Greg. From the outside of row 2, look at bike 36 there. He's going to go into turn 1, second, maybe third. You can see Braden Nort's going to try to roll around the outside of him. Corey's going to sneak in there, though, I believe, and be able to get up that hill in third as they get to the top of the hill for the first time. Now, got to be careful up through here. It's very single file. It's very easy to run off into the dirt, into this little section. You can see a couple guys getting brake checked up at the top, but it looked like everybody got through clean.
Yeah, that area is definitely a traffic jam, and it looks like Hayden Gillum got a better launch. He did get swallowed up, but he was able to make up a couple extra spots. So fourth for him right now?
Looks like, it looks like he's back there in fourth. And Mazziato second, Corey West. So Hayden definitely did something good there going up the hill because he was able to get around Ort, who was fourth going up the hill out of turn 1. So a little better start. See if he can do anything with these guys down the back straightaway as far as maybe getting a big double draft, because he needs to make sure this 95 doesn't get too far away. We saw JD this morning in qualifying just putting a bunch of laps together within the same tenth of a second. And look, Corey West, he's going to have a shot at Mazziato as they come down the hill into turn 10, first lap. So, like I said, Greg, it does a lot for your confidence. He's got one start under his belt, does Corey, and that red flag came at the right time for him too, because now he's up there battling for that podium.
Corey West on an M4 X-Star Suzuki filling in for the injured Valentin DeBees. And Corey, boy, that looks like that GSX-R 600 turned really well for him. It almost looked like it surprised him how well it was turning in there.
Yep, and you know, right now he just got done doing the Daytona 200, so to kind of only have to do 11 laps around this place is going to be simple after sitting out there for as long as he did at Daytona. But he's got two very, very hungry R6s up behind him right now, and this is the little area you got to get in here through here clean. Corey looks great. Watched him yesterday up through this little section, and honestly, he looks a lot smoother today even than he did yesterday. So he's starting to get his racing feet back underneath him a little bit.
Working lap number 2 of this restart. Of course, race reduced from 18 laps down to 12 because of the red flag incident, with Michael Gilbert involved. As we look at JD Beach start to check out early on in this race, it's already just about 1 second. M4 X-Star Suzuki's Corey West doing exactly what this team hoped he would do. Get them on camera, get them exposure, and if Corey gets a heap of points for himself, then the conversations will start.
Absolutely, and right now, I said this morning that the Suzukis did not look like they were giving up much on these Yamahas. And you can see Mazziato was in his draft when they came out of turn 7, and Corey's been able to hold him off down the back straightaway, and he's really strong on the brakes coming down into turn 10, and looks very tidy down through here, does Corey. So bike looks like it's got a lot of grip on the exits, and all he's going to do is continue to get his confidence up, especially when he sees that JD Beach isn't exactly just disappearing right now.
Talking to crew chief for Corey West earlier on today, the question I had for Frank was, do you have enough gearing for the back straightaway? Because he was telling me that Corey hadn't been around anyone all weekend, had no idea what the bike was going to react to in the draft. And sometimes, Jason, as you know, if you gear it,
that's a big pass there, Greg.
Wow.
To do that there, that's a lot of commitment for Hayden Gillim to do that up at the top, but he felt like he just had to get by. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I mean, that's a pass you don't normally see. That's a very aggressive pass, and it is super tight in that section of the racetrack.
And you can see how quickly he got back up on the back of Corey, so maybe expect to see Hayden do something maybe down in turn 6, and if that happens, it's not going to happen, actually, because Corey got out of there really well. But, you know, this is actually, it's a good thing for Corey because he was already starting to kind of get away from and gap those two guys a little bit. If Hayden goes by him, it might pull him up closer to JD as well. So, but you can see how good Corey is at getting out of turn 7. The Suzukis sometimes will go back to first gear for turn 7 to get that extra drive out of there, where the Yamahas yesterday watching, just about every one of them are in second gear rolling through there. So you can see Corey's able to pull a big gap. We got another rider down in turn 7.
Is that 13? Yeah, that's Aaron Graham out of Willis, Texas, on that MotoAmerica Racing R6. So Graham.
Turn 7's definitely getting some victims today, and you can see again, that's just trail braking in. Front brake levers just being pulled on a little bit too much. And, you know, a lot of these guys are charging the slowest corner onto the track. The most important part of that deal there is to get out of that corner well, and they're putting the emphasis on getting into the corner too well. As Hayden Gillim goes 30.1, looks like he's trying to do something with Corey at the top of this hill. We'll see in our next shot. He did, Greg. He was able to drive by him through turn 1. Now, Corey's got to really keep focusing forward now. And Hayden Gillim just ran 30.1, fastest lap of the race that lap. So obviously that bike is doing well. Clutch is good. Now he's going to try to run down his friend JD here.
2.5 miles around this Road Atlanta circuit. And as Jason mentioned, 12 corners. That 30.1. Now these are 600cc machines that you can buy off the showroom floor and modify them to come racing. He averaged 101.8 miles per hour around this racetrack. He averaged. That's how fast Road Atlanta is for Hayden Gillim.
And he's closing down again. He went through the first sector 3/10 quicker. And now as they get into the second sector, they're about the same, JD and Hayden, through that second segment. So he's going to just try to, he's got to just kind of keep his head forward too and keep on trying to ride mistake-free as much as he can. You know, as a rider, when you see +1 on your board all the time, you know that guy's back there. So JD, he's been in this position so many times before, Greg. He's just got to try to put really clean laps together and try to make Hayden catch him. Don't go trying to get overboard and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't try to push too much harder. If you can continue to see +1 lap after lap after lap, that's good. 1:29.7 last lap.
This is exactly what happened when JD Beach came across the line. For that moment, he set the fastest lap of the race at a 1:30.0. But chasing him, both from Philpott, Kentucky, is Hayden Gillum. He set a 1:29.727. A 1:29.3 was Hayden Gillum's qualifying lap. So Gillum right now is pushing hard. My guess is with the amount of laps left in this race, if Hayden can just get up to the back of JD, then maybe he can just take a breath. Unless his momentum's going to carry him forward. As we know, JD Beach can be an extremely difficult rider to pass, especially when he likes to send the rear end of that motorcycle sideways and you're trying to find 1 inch to pass him. He makes it awfully difficult.
Yep, Hayden hasn't been in this position in quite some time where he's up there battling for a win. So, you know, there's going to be a lot of different emotions going through his mind right now, especially if he starts seeing himself close down on JD Beach. I think it goes without saying that, you know, you can see how much bigger he is than JD even going down that back straightaway, but it goes without saying that when Hayden was going as fast as he was in testing, I think it opened up a lot of people's eyes. But I've known how well the kid rides for so long, and he's proven that again here today as he's gone fastest first sector again. He's gaining 0.3 of a second every time they go through that first sector, Greg. So he's making up all of his time in this first sector. And now it's probably gone from +1 to +0.5 a second. And he's going to see that on his board when he goes by as JD. And Hayden's definitely closing down the gap. Now, this is the first sector of the track. Gillum seems very strong at the top of the hill. We saw him make a pass on Mazziato and Corey West, both up here in this section.
He's been strong in sector number 1 the entire weekend, has Hayden Gillum. And he just went by again, set the fastest lap of the race. So Beach did a 1:30.0. Gillum did another 1:29.7, a little quicker than the lap before. So keeps setting the fastest laps of the race. Now I can tell you, Hayden Gillum, in order to get himself to the races, is doing a lot. He's got great sponsorship with Ridiculous Racing on that Yamaha R6. But some of you out there watching this may remember a guy by the name of Josh Hayes, who's won, I don't know, 4 Superbike titles in his day or whatever. He and his wife Melissa come to the racetrack. Hayden Gillum is actually driving their rig and back and forth to all the races.
So he's still a man in a van with some sort of plan.
Kind of,
yeah. But now he's got a bus.
Yeah.
Now he's got a big rig. So
I don't know if he's got to watch their baby hawk though. I don't know if he's
got to get his
truck
license.
driver / nanny Hayden Gillum. But
exactly.
You know, it's not all factory racing for Hayden Gillum. He's doing whatever he can to make it work for himself and get to the racetrack. And after 2 years of not the greatest results on the 1000 by his own accord, he's doing great things. Still working with one of his crew chiefs from the 1000 program. So he's still got familiar faces around him, does Hayden Gillum. But right now, last time by the stripe, JD Beach has lowered his time into the 29s, 29.9. Hayden, though, still 0.2 quicker. So 0.5 second separating them. Can he close it in this section?
Yeah, it's an impressive ride right now to be pushing your own wind also and be chasing down JD. And we're going to look here and look at this first split again and see how it pans out, because JD ran his fastest first split the last lap. He was actually a 10th quicker than Hayden, but this lap you can tell Hayden's definitely closed that down again a little bit. So just a little bit there.
Yeah, about 1/10 of a second, a little less than that. Hayden Gillum went quicker than JD Beach in that sector. So the time is actually still 0.5 second distance between JD Beach on the 95. Of course, he's on the Monster Energy Yamaha Extended Services Yamalube Graves Yamaha against that privateer Ridiculous R6 of Hayden Gillum. Back in third spot is Corey West, Braden Nort in fourth, which is great right now for Braden.
What a battle for third right now.
And Mazziato's in the mix. Nick McFadden's back there. Daytona Anderson, Bryce Prince. Look at JD.
Yeah, these guys are both, and they're both a little bit different. I was watching, Gillum gets a lot closer to the curbing and down into turn 10 than does JD. I was watching over there this morning, actually, and it just could be just a little bit difference in lines. That said, JD likes to back the bike in a little bit, and I know it's been bumpy in the past, but look at, he is absolutely on the back of him now. Another 29.7. Hayden Gillum has ran about 4 29.7s in a row, so that's the consistency that you're looking for from your rider all the time. Now, Hayden's where he wants to be. He's probably sussed out the areas where he's fastest. The problem is, Greg, where he's fastest is not really the areas that you can really pass. It's all this little section. It's very one-lined all down through these turns, and you can see he's even a little bit tighter as they go down that hill there. But now he's on the back. We're really going to get a chance to see if he can do anything with JD once they come out of turn 7. But Hayden drives out of that turn 5 area really nicely as well.
You can see the difference in size as well.
Yep.
You know, JD, a much smaller in stature than Hayden Gillum. And that down the back straightaway, just on aerodynamics alone, is going to hurt him a little bit. JD, a little sideways, trying to square up turn number 7. Get on that gas. A good drive from Hayden Gillum. Now we're going to see what it's going to be like in the draft for the 69.
And
Is he close enough?
I think, you know, when you watch Hayden roll into corners with his wheels in line, he carries a little bit more roll speed in and mid-corner speed through. And even last year when I was watching JD and Garrett, you know, it was kind of Hayden's a little bit more, he's a little bit more like Garrett to me than JD style. So yeah, Garrett Gerloff. Yeah, so you can really see the difference in the way both of the guys are riding, and yeah, JD's backed in a lot more than Hayden. Look, see how they just roll through the middle of the corner, how he can kind of roll up on him. So that'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But that's JD's style. That's how he's always ridden. And as they head down into turn 1, again, this is the spot where Hayden seems to make up some time. And even through turn 7 yesterday, you could see the roll speed that Hayden was carrying through the middle of the turn, how much more fast he looked just in the middle section of that turn.
JD Beach snatching that brake lever. You could see the rear end of the motorcycle flipping around as he was heading into turn number 1.
29.5 that time by. So both guys into the 29. So when you look at the lap times, they're coming down. JD knows he's got a fight on his hands. He's watched his lap board go down. Definitely not like the first start where he had, you know, probably +3 on his board. The guy that he was the most worried about, for those that might just be joining, got taken out very early, and then we had a red flag, and now it's come back to this with 4 to go. Hayden's right there with him.
Yeah, I think it kind of is playing out. At least it looks like it's kind of playing out as Hayden, you know, that was the fastest lap the last time by, but it just seems like, you know.
The problem is where Hayden's fastest is just not the spots to really be able to do much with somebody or get past him, and he's not close enough right now. He's kind of got up to him and then stalled out, even though the lap times for both riders dropped that last lap. It's very, very tough right now for me to come up with a solution where Hayden might be able to go past. It's going to have to be down in that first sector, and the problem that you have is really the only spot you can do it is going up the hill out of 1, and this battle for 3rd continues with McFadden now joining in 4th place right behind his new teammate Corey West, and you can see Daytona Anderson has drug along also behind Braden Ort as well. So Daytona's actually found something in the race because he's been just a little bit off, qualifying back on row 5, 31.2 in his qualifying, and so far in the race he's gone 30.1. So he's found over a second in lap times.
So Nick McFadden on the 18, he's that second bike in your screen. McFadden on that M4 Med-Age Suzuki, and speaking with him, I said, listen, Corey West is a fill-in rider for the team. Are you feeling any pressure because you're the lead rider right now? And he was like, not really, because, you know, he's switching classes. He feels like he might have a race or 2 buffer with the team because he switched from that Superstock 600 into the Supersport class. But you can see right now that Nick McFadden is really starting to come into his own as he takes a look over his shoulder. Back up front we go. JD Beach continues to lead over Hayden Gillum. Last time by the stripe, JD Beach was just about about a couple hundredths of a second quicker. So I think this race is settled down, and at this point, it would really be smart of Hayden Gillum to start to try to make a plan on where to pass.
He's a little bit closer when they went into turn 10 that lap. He's got to be really, really tight behind JD when they go into turn 1 if he wants to try to do anything going up the hill at all. As we get back to this battle for 3rd, these 2 guys are just trying to suss themselves out as well. It looks like Ort now is drawn closer to the 2. He was up to 4th as we knew just now, but this is that area of the track that I was talking about. See, Hayden's just not quite close enough as they go up the hill. McFadden now putting a lot of pressure on the back of Corey West. Braden Ort ran the fastest lap of his race, as did Bryce Prince in 7th, ran the fastest lap of his race as well. So Bryce Prince on a bike that he put together 2 weeks ago is up to 7th right now.
Corey West continues to run 1:30.4. So Corey West's best lap of the race was a 1:30.3. So Corey last time by just a 10th off.
Pretty close this time, Greg, as they come down through turn 7. And now this is probably going to be Hayden's best chance. This is the closest we've seen. He's got to get in the draft, and we're really going to be able to tell now if his bike has the beans to be able to get up alongside of JD or not. You can see JD's bike just seems like it's got a little bit more, but you can also tell the difference in size between the two riders. And as they head down into turn 10, it's going to be a big move for Hayden.
Hayden's had some problems in practice into turn number 10 where he would snatch that brake and the rear end of the motorcycle would come around on him. So I think he and his team were working on that, but he also knows that when he pushes really hard that bike can get unsettled in a heartbeat. Here we go. We're going to head to the white flag. So this is going to be the final lap. And if Hayden Gillum has a chance, he is already have to decide where he's going to try JD Beach.
And again, Greg, he's close. He's close as they get ready to head up the hill out of turn 1. He's close, but I'm just not sure. As you can see, the two teammates are getting super close. Nick McFadden actually pulled up to the right of Corey West as they went down the front straightaway. Looked like he was going to try to do something in turn 1, but I think it's a big commitment there. Again, Road Atlanta is not an easy place to make passes. It just isn't. It's just a very difficult spot. You got to be very committed in certain areas of this racetrack to make passes. And Nick just got a little bit too close to Corey as they went into 1. And here you go. He's actually really close to JD right now.
Another passing opportunity as the fastest first sector split of the race is set by JD, then by Hayden Gillum. So these riders pushing extremely hard. Oh, and up ahead is some lap traffic. This might play into it. I saw a helmet coming through the screen.
And I saw Hayden's bike just move around a little bit on the exit of 7. And it's just the drive grip that I feel like he may have needed. Now, JD is going to have some back markers, or a back marker at least, that he's going to have to contend with. They might get this person when they get down to the bottom of the hill. Oh, here we go. Turn 10.
Oh,
it's
wow.
a big move, but that's going to be the race right there, because I don't think that Hayden's going to be able to get close enough. What a move by JD Beach. He's got one more guy. Oh, very, very nice work there from the number 85, Robert Murillo.
Here we go. To the line they come. JD Beach with a look over his shoulder, and he will take race number 1 here of the season for Supersport. Right behind him, Hayden Gillum, and then that battle
Corey
for third
West.
spot goes to Corey West.
Great job for Corey West. That's a good job by him, and you can see Nick McFadden right there. Those guys were only 6.5 seconds behind the winners of this race. So Nick McFadden, Braden Ort, Daytona Anderson, Bryce Prince, Mazziato, Yates, and Aguilar are going to fill out top 10. A couple guys doing their fastest laps on the last. But I tell you right now, the big winners, Hayden Gillum and Braden Ort. Both guys were in the dirt earlier on, and now they got a big bunch of championship points.
Yeah, not often does it happen where you see someone high side in front of you and then you roll over their motorcycle and you think you're done. Red flag came out. Hayden Gillum got to take his original front row start, and then we got to see this as the finish, and a good move. That was the move that JD Beach had to make in order to win this race. Although the way Hayden Gillum rode it, I thought right here he was rolling through that corner so fast, but
Yeah.
JD got on the gas, got up on the meat of the tire, and was able to hold off his, well, calls him family.
Yep.
So we thought it could come down to something pretty gnarly, but JD Beach holds him off by 0.2 of a second. Hayden Gillum, Corey West, Nick McFadden takes 4th, and he was just 0.091 behind his teammate. Braden Ort, another one who was down, able to finish in 5th. Daytona Anderson, Bryce Prince. Anthony Mazziato, the quick starter, in 8th spot. Ashton Yates, Jason. Ashton Yates into the top 10.
Yep.
So Ashton will go 7 points after his great run in the Liqui Junior Cup race earlier on today that you could have caught on beIN Sports Connect. And then you have Jason Aguilar rounding out your top 10. So not quite the battle up front, going back and forth between riders, but after a so-so start from Hayden Gillum in the second half of this race, Gillum was able to gather it back up and continue to set fastest lap after fastest lap after fastest lap to reel in JD Beach. But JD, being the very smart heads-up racer that he is, was able to hold off Hayden Gillum. So they'll roll around here, get to Parc Ferme, and head to Winner's Circle, where we'll get talk. Oh, before that, they're going to do, JD, little burnout action. Not sure that's in the rule book, actually. But having a little bit of fun as they come down the hill. Good for JD Beach. It's the way, Jason, a lot of pressure, I think, on JD as we take a look at these results, and everybody's saying he's the foregone conclusion, the favorite, but he knows, as well as his team, it's not going to be easy. So here's a look at the results as we have them now. It's Beach, Gillum, and West. They will be standing on the podium. Nick McFadden just off the box by a tenth of a second. That'll wear on him all night long. Braden Ort, Daytona Anderson, Bryce Prince, Anthony Mazziato, and Ashton Yates. What happens tomorrow? Well, that's up in the air because, according to the Weather Channel, it might be a little
damp.
Crazy.
Yeah, could get a bit damp tomorrow.
We'll take a break. On the other side, we'll get to Winner's Circle, so don't go anywhere. Supersport winner interviews coming up. Welcome back to Road Atlanta as Supersport has concluded race number 1 of the season. And we're going to have 18 of those scheduled for the year. And the winner is JD Beach as Victory Lane is full. So let's go down to Hannah.
What a race, especially with that restart in there. How were you able to keep Hayden behind you once he was able to catch up to you?
Yeah, well, I got a little bit of an advantage over Hayden down that long back straight. I can kind of break the draft a little bit, and I knew where he was strong on the track, so I was trying to be really precise there, and then be good on the back section. But I mean, he was keeping me honest the whole race. I mean, the track was really greasy. It was hot, and so the bike was moving around a lot. But it was a great race. I just got to thank my whole Monster Energy, Yamaha Extended Service Graves team. They worked hard all winter, and I've worked really hard with Ken Hill and Ridiculous Racing, doing track days and stuff to fine-tune my riding. But the only problem is Hayden has too. So, but no, it's going to be a great season, and we're just going to keep fighting.
Well, it looks like you won't have to sabotage Hayden tonight at least.
Yeah, just for tonight at least.
Congratulations. Thanks, JD.
Well, Jason, that was a good performance by JD Beach, and under tremendous pressure, really coming from Hayden Gillum. He was able to manage it and race his way to that win.
Yeah, and tomorrow morning when he does warm up, I'm sure his crew is going to tell him where he was losing his time in that first sector, big time, and we'll see if he can make some changes to hopefully make it a little bit easier on himself tomorrow. But Hayden's going to be able to get there right like he did today, no question.
All right, let's go back down to Hannah.
I've got Hayden here. Hayden, I bet you didn't think you'd be standing with me, talking to me, doing this interview, or up on this podium this afternoon before that restart. Tell us how you pulled it off.
Yeah, on the first start, I got tangled up with Braden Ort and in his little high side out of 7 on lap 2. I was able to get it back up and go. The bike wasn't too bad, and then the red flag came out, and I wasn't feeling so hot during the red flag. I didn't know we were going to go back to original grid position. Guys got the bike back to perfect again, or near perfect, and got to go back to second place on the grid. Got a little bit better start in the restart, but still had to work my way through a couple of the guys. Everybody really picked up the pace today, so it made it tough. And it took me a few laps by myself to really get up to JD. And I had the speed in some spots, and he was getting me in a few other spots, and it was kind of a back and forth, give and get kind of race. And he was really good on the brakes. A couple times I was able to get pretty close to next to him coming off the back straight, but he's a madman on the brakes. So we're gonna have to go back, figure something out for that, and I don't know, we'll see what tomorrow brings.
Now, were you able to save your tire at all, or did you have to use all that up to catch up to JD?
With it being a shorter race, didn't really use it up too bad, and honestly, it surprised me. It didn't really drop off too much. I was able to do some pretty good lap times, made a few mistakes here and there, but yeah, the tire was good there at the end. I just didn't have anything for him. I was sliding just a bit, but yeah, you know, the whole Ridiculous Racing team, Robert and Shane, or Sean, and Rick and Ken and Josh and Adam, you know, they've got this whole program really going, and I can't thank those guys enough.
Well, congratulations, Hayden. Thank you so much.
All right, so Hayden Gillum walks away with the consolation prize, I guess, on lap 8 of this one. He set the fastest lap of the race, a 129.560, which really signals the return of Hayden Gillum to the Supersport class.
I got to think this is a victory for him almost, because now it's going to give him the confidence to propel forward for the rest of the year. This is a guy that has been the last 2 years literally driving his own race bikes around the country, just trying to make ends meet, try to make it work. It would have been really easy for him to stop doing what he was doing, but he worked hard, and to see that he was that close behind JD Beach, I think is going to give him a lot of confidence.
So Corey West got a call on Tuesday, hey, want to come to Road Atlanta? And I said, what do you expect? And he said, nothing but a podium. He's down with Hannah.
Corey, you said you haven't done much racing aside from Daytona a couple of weeks ago. How did you end up here on this podium with us this weekend?
I kind of gave Chris and John Ulrich a buzz after Daytona when I saw that their rider had such a bad accident, and told them, you know, I've had some good results here at Road Atlanta in the past, and if you need any help, just call me up. And so they said it's a potential, but it might be a, you know, last-minute deal. So I was just back at work in Arkansas, and then I got the buzz on Tuesday and said, so you want to go to Road Atlanta? Yes, totally want to go to Road Atlanta. So good to be back. Team Hammer with the M4 X-Star Suzuki, they put a great bike underneath me, and it's just awesome to be back here in this paddock and getting a podium my first shot at it.
Well, congratulations, Corey. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you very much.
That's where he belongs in this paddock, Greg. This guy rides amazingly well, and I think it's you know, it's not good that he's not here. He's proven that today by being able to jump on a bike that he gets a phone call on Tuesday to come and race against the best guys out there. Finishes third, so a lot of praise for Corey West. Great job. I do got a question for him, though. Yesterday I saw him in a different set of leathers.
Yeah.
So I want to know why he's in a different set of leathers today. So
we
we'll
may have
figure
that answer
out.
tomorrow. We'll take a commercial break right now on BN Sports. We have more coming from MotoAmerica at Road Atlanta on the other side.